What is up, everyone? It's me, Jrod, the filmmaker, former filmmaker, frequent fighting gamer from Philadelphia, and we are back with a very special video. Now, this week I am going to talk about two shows, a 2-for-1 special. And this video is all about hopeless romantics. It's a term that I'm sure you've heard before, but you probably never really investigated it. It just has two qualifications. Are you hopeless? Are you romantic? If you answer yes to both, then you're a hopeless romantic. Now, the hopeless romantic that I will be referring to are the two titular characters, Ramy of the show Ramy and Fleabag of the show Fleabag. Now, if you've never seen these shows, I will give a brief summary of both, but I highly recommend you checking them out. So if you want to go check them out, you can do so now. This will be your official spoiler warning. And, I wish I could do this video without spoilers, but I'm going to be talking about the finales of both shows, and it's near impossible. And so the last thing right before we get into the video, I want you to do me a favor and hit me with a 3-hit combo. First of all, hit the like button, then hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell for a flawless victory, all right? And without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, in this video, we will compare the two shows for the most part, so I'm going to start off by telling you how the two shows are different. Alright, so to start with Fleabag. Fleabag is a British series streaming on Amazon Prime, and it only has 12 episodes. But in those 12 episodes, there is a lot of character development, there is a lot of heart, and a lot of laughs. This show is about Fleabag, and that's the character's actual name in the script, yes. But no one actually calls her that throughout the entire show. No one actually uses her name, which is kind of weird, but also really cool. Fleabag's main conflict is that she's stuck between her identity as a feminist and as a promiscuous woman. Then there's Ramy, a show that is streaming on Hulu with 21 episodes. And Ramy is an Egyptian-American Muslim living in New Jersey. Ramy reads as a real, genuine character who tries to do better every single day. And Ramy's main conflict is that he wants to be a good Muslim and live as a good Muslim in a world that's modern and blasphemous. So the similarities really come in the second seasons, where a love story brews on both shows. For Fleabag, she started to find her stride in the second season. She's focusing on herself and her family, and she's abstaining from sex until she finds her love in the form of her godmother / stepmother's priest. I know, it's odd. So there's this juxtaposition here that we commonly call the sacred and the profane. You take a sacred element like religion, specifically Catholicism in this case, and you add a profane element, something like sex. And when those two elements collide, you get a brand new dynamic. In Ramy, there's a similar dynamic. He finds love in the form of Zainab, who is the daughter of his sheikh, who is his religious leader. So there's a similar juxtaposition, but the religion in this case is Islam, and then there's the profane things that Ramy is guilty of doing. And, not just sex, there's also things like drugs and alcohol, and there's also a lot of really weird, sketchy things that Ramy got up to between season 1 and season 2. I'm not going to mention them all, but there is one main thing that is relevant to this video. Now, the only reason I thought to compare these two shows is because I remember the feeling I had when I was watching both shows' finales, and it was the same feeling. Ultimately, it was a will they, won't they situation, and I was rooting for will they. I wanted both relationships to work out in both cases. But I was perceptive enough to know that won't they was much more likely with these types of hopeless romantic characters. And won't they there was. So in both cases, the relationships ultimately didn't work out. And I think that the final similarity is that both season 2 finales feature a wedding. In Fleabag, it's the marriage of Fleabag's father and her godmother / stepmother, which is one of the worst characters. Like, this character is really the worst. And in Fleabag's boyfriend, Hot Priest, is officiating the ceremony. In Ramy, it's Ramy's own wedding to Zainab. It may seem abrupt that they got married in only one season of TV, but in their culture, that's how it works. So now, how these relationships ended, it's very different. But I'll start with Fleabag because it's pretty straightforward. Fleabag and Hot Priest, yes, that's actually his name in the script. Trust me, there are a bunch of gems in the Fleabag character names. But Fleabag and Hot Priest, they are in love, but Hot Priest admits that his first love is God, and that he doesn't want to leave his post as a priest to pursue a relationship. Now, this seems like a sad ending, but every other aspect of Fleabag's life is in a really good place. She became closer to her father and sister. She overcame her dependence on sex, and also she was stealing a couple stuff. She was stealing things, and she overcame that as well. And she accepted her godmother as her new stepmother, despite the fact that I swear this is the second worst character in the entire show, second only to this guy, and this guy really sucks. But other than that, Fleabag had a really positive arc throughout the second season. She became a lot closer to, whatever her personal goals are. And then for Ramy, it is much worse. The profane act that I didn't mention earlier is that in the end of season 1, Ramy traveled to Egypt for a spiritual experience, but he ended up in a relationship with his own cousin. I know, it's hella yikes, but it's not even the most yikes thing that Ramy has done. But it is relevant because this cousin comes to New Jersey for the wedding. And before the wedding, Ramy and this cousin, I don't really remember her name, I don't feel like looking up. But before the wedding, Ramy and this cousin end up kissing. And on the wedding night, Ramy reveals all of this to Zainab, which it's like really overwhelming to hear all of these different events in one night, especially when that night is your wedding night. So Zainab makes a solid decision and she just leaves. She leaves Ramy, she leaves the marriage, and she sorts it out on her own. Now, before the episode, I would describe Ramy as I described him earlier in the video. He makes a genuine effort and he tries to do better every day, but this finale shows that he hadn't actually been trying where it mattered, or he hadn't been trying hard enough where it mattered the most. And then in the end, when it seems like Ramy has no wife to turn to, no cousin, girlfriend, or family to turn to, it seems like Ramy has nowhere else to go. He's about to sort of run away from his life. He hears a prayer and he remembers that he still has his faith. So similar to Hot Priest and Fleabag, Ramy has to learn that the romantic love he had for Zainab was great and it made him a better person, but his love for God was greater and it ultimately could make him a better person, even better of a person, I don't know. But basically the conclusion that I can draw from watching these two shows, which are wildly different but still similar in a lot of ways, is that there's nothing inherently wrong with hopeless romantics, They love hard and a lot of times they fumble the bag in the worst possible way. But there's a lot that we can learn from them, including the fact that romantic relationships are great, but they're not the end-all be-all. They're not the most important thing. For some people, the most important thing is their faith. For some people, the most important thing is their family. And for some people, the most important thing is making videos about topics that nobody asked for. Oh, is that just me? Well, I do consider myself a hopeless romantic as well, which is probably why I was rooting for these two doomed relationships to work. And if you are a hopeless romantic too, then lean all the way into it. You might fumble the bag in the worst way, but you will come out stronger on the other side. And you'll probably even be able to make a show about that romance, like Ramy and Phoebe Waller-Bridge did, and that show might be a banger. So yeah, guys, that is gonna be it. I just had to, because when I was watching these and tweeting about them and examining them, I was like, there is definitely something here that that binds these two shows together, two shows that probably, have nothing to do with each other. The people who work on them, I don't know if they've even ever met or talked about this, but there definitely is these common threads in these two shows that I thought was worth examining. So that is going to be it for this video, the problem with romantics. Like I said, if you haven't checked out Ramy streaming on Hulu or Fleabag streaming on Amazon Prime, I would recommend both shows because they are both great, and you can determine yourself whether you're also rooting for their romance or you just don't care and you are more of a cynical than a hopeless romantic. But guys, that is going to be it for this video. So like I said in the beginning, 3-hit combo: like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tell me if you feel me about this subject, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Galaxy's Edge.
It was being shipped down to
Orlando, Florida. It's the
for the theme park.
The X-Wing you see in Orlando, Florida is the X-Wing cockpit that we all sat in Mandalorian. Nice. The one sitting outside.
And there I am with the screen used X-Wing from the first season of The Mandalorian.